Imagine waking up and realizing nothing excites you anymore. You go through the motions, scrolling, eating, working, even socializing, but nothing feels alive. The things that once sparked something inside you now feel mechanical, like watching your life from behind glass, unable to touch it. It's not depression exactly. It's not exhaustion. It's something more unsettling. The creeping sense that none of this means anything anymore. This isn't laziness. It's not about being ungrateful or weak. It's a deeper kind of numbness, a silence beneath everything, whispering that what you're doing, who you're trying to be, might not be real at all. If you've ever felt this, don't look away. Stay with it, because on the other side of that emptiness lies something most people never discover. Watch until the end. This may explain more than you realize. We often mistake this feeling for boredom. We think we just need a new job, a new goal, a new hobby. We try to patch the numbness with stimulation, assuming it's a surface problem. But what if it isn't? What if the fact that nothing feels meaningful isn't a flaw in you, but a message from something deeper? That question is what we'll explore. Swiss psychologist Carl Jung believed this state is not a dead end, but a threshold, an invitation to face the moment where your outer life no longer matches your inner truth. And when you resist that invitation, when you keep chasing old joys that no longer fit, the soul begins to shut down. It waits. It waits for you to stop running long enough to hear it. This is where many people are stuck today, not in failure, but in a quiet standoff with their own unlived life. And the longer you ignore it, the more hollow things become. The mind doesn't go silent for no reason. When meaning begins to fade from your life, it's not because your brain is broken. It's because something inside you is no longer in sync with how you're living. You're disconnected, not from the world, but from yourself. Jung called this disconnection a psychic split. On the surface, you go through the motions, but underneath your deeper self, the part of you that knows what matters, is being ignored. The result? A slow, creeping sense of unreality, as if you're just playing a role that was handed to you without ever choosing it. You start to ask strange questions. Why don't I care about the things I used to love? Why do my goals feel so distant and hollow? Why am I even doing this? But the more you try to answer them with logic, the more lost you feel, because this kind of disconnection isn't solved by thinking more. It's not a puzzle, it's a signal. A warning that your life may have grown too small for who you're becoming. Jung believed that each of us carries an unconscious blueprint, a deeper self trying to unfold. But when we silence that self in order to fit in, perform, or survive, we pay a price. That price is a loss of vitality. The colors drain from life, leaving behind only the vague sense that something essential is missing. This is why your distractions aren't working. You try a new show, a new goal, a new lifestyle, but underneath the novelty, the same emptiness returns. Because the issue isn't that your life is boring, it's that your life is out of alignment with the person you were meant to become. And until that disconnection is addressed, no external change will ever feel real. Carl Jung didn't see modern unhappiness as a mystery. He saw it as a predictable consequence, a consequence of building your life around the wrong center. When your identity is based on what you think others want from you, the deeper self goes underground, and it doesn't stay quiet forever. Jung warned that the psyche has a way of rebelling. When the conscious mind suppresses the unconscious, symptoms appear. Emotional numbness, chronic dissatisfaction, anxiety without a clear source. These aren't just mental issues. They're the soul trying to speak in the only language it has left. At the root of this disconnect is what Jung called the persona, the mask you wear to function in society. It's necessary. You need a persona to survive, to adapt, to relate. But problems arise when the mask becomes mistaken for the self. You play a role for so long, you forget who's underneath, and eventually, the inner voice that once whispered becomes a scream you can't ignore. The tragedy is that many people treat this as a personal failure. They blame themselves for not being grateful enough, motivated enough, or resilient enough. But Jung flipped the script. This isn't failure. It's transformation trying to begin. The psyche isn't collapsing. It's reorganizing itself, demanding to be recentered around what's real. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole by integrating your unconscious. But it's not easy. It often begins with what feels like a breakdown, a loss of meaning, a crumbling of identity, a sudden inability to pretend. You might lose interest in your goals, drift away from relationships, feel like a stranger to yourself. And that's exactly when the true self begins to emerge, not with fireworks, but in the quiet discomfort of truth. When you stop pretending, your real values start surfacing. When you stop chasing, your real desires begin to stir. The emptiness isn't an end. It's the space being cleared for something deeper to take root. While Jung approached the loss of meaning through the unconscious, Søren Kierkegaard saw it as an existential dilemma. He believed that when life loses its spark, it's not due to lack of stimulation, it's due to avoidance. Avoidance of truth, of freedom, of the terrifying weight of being responsible for your own existence. To Kierkegaard, despair wasn't about sadness. It was the sickness of the self running from itself, a quiet, invisible suffering that arises not from pain, but from comfort, from settling into a life that feels safe, but hollow. You might have everything you once thought you wanted, the job, the apartment, the relationship. But if it's not yours, if it's not aligned with your truth, you'll feel it in your bones. A creeping sense that you've built your life on a foundation that doesn't belong to you. Kierkegaard described 3 modes of existence. First, the aesthetic life. Pursuit of pleasure, avoidance of pain, staying on the surface. Second, the ethical life. Embracing responsibility, seeking purpose and integrity. And finally, the religious or spiritual life. Not necessarily about religion, but about confronting the infinite, the unknown, the self beyond rational control. Most people, he said, get stuck in the aesthetic life. They seek newness, pleasure, novelty, hoping to outrun the void. But eventually, the void catches up. And in that moment of despair, the opportunity appears. The chance to stop running and start choosing. Because freedom, true existential freedom, is terrifying. It means you're not just here to follow a script. It means your life has no pre-written meaning, unless you create it. This is the crisis. It's not just that you're bored, it's that your soul is starving for authenticity. And authenticity isn't comfortable. It demands that you strip away your layers, face your contradictions, and take ownership of what you've become. Most will never do it. They'll choose distraction. They'll choose numbness. They'll choose the aesthetic life. But for those who dare to confront despair, not as a flaw but as a doorway, a new kind of meaning becomes possible. There's a point where the old tricks stop working. No new playlist, trip, or philosophy can cover up the gnawing sense that something vital is missing. You're not looking for stimulation anymore. You're looking for something real, something that matters. And this is where both Jung and Kierkegaard point to the same truth. You must rebuild meaning from within, not find it, not inherit it, not copy it, but create it. From the raw materials of your own experience. This rebirth begins in stillness, not the passive kind, but the courageous kind, where you stop chasing and start listening. When you sit with the discomfort instead of medicating it. When you stop asking, "What should I do?" and begin asking, "What is trying to emerge from me?" Jung called this stage the descent into the unconscious, not a descent into madness, but into depth, into the parts of you that have been buried under expectations, distractions, and fear. In that darkness, symbols arise, feelings surface, and slowly, a new kind of direction reveals itself, not from outside, but from within. Kierkegaard called it the leap of faith, not belief in a god, but belief in a self you haven't yet become. The courage to step into uncertainty, to define your values not based on comfort or consensus, but on what feels true to you. This is where meaning becomes personal. Not the kind you can explain in a sentence, but the kind you feel. In the way you choose your work, in the way you love, in the way you say no to what no longer fits. You're not chasing excitement anymore. You're aligning. And that alignment, however fragile at first, is where real energy comes from. It doesn't feel like adrenaline. It feels like peace, like gravity pulling you into the center of your own life. And maybe that's what meaning really is. Not something you have, but something you live. Something strange happens when you finally stop running from the emptiness. It starts to dissolve, not all at once, not dramatically, but moment by moment in small, almost imperceptible shifts. You walk into a room and notice the light. You read something that gently stirs the silence inside you. You talk to someone, not just politely, but presently, and for a few seconds, you feel it. A flicker of aliveness, not the old kind, the "look how exciting this is" kind, but a new kind. Quiet, rooted, real. This is the return from the existential break. Not a return to how things were, but to who you actually are. You stop searching for the next thing. You start responding to life as it comes, with clarity, curiosity, and care. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not who the world wants, not who your past fears molded, but the person that exists when nothing is left to prove." You may still feel the pull of distractions, the ache of old patterns, but now there's something stronger beneath it. A still point, a direction, a deeper yes. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying so hard to feel alive, you begin to live, not through force, but through truth. Because meaning was never out there waiting to be found. It was waiting for you to come home. This is the quiet culmination of individuation, not an achievement, but a return. A return to the self you abandoned. A return to the life you stopped living. A return not to what's familiar, but to what's real. If this resonated with you, like, share, and subscribe to The Existential Edge for more videos like this.